illustrate the subject of the message, the holy living of the holy people, all life, and putting on the new. This message, as you have, I believe, noticed already, covers 3 chapters, 18, 19, and 20. This long portion of the word is equivalent to Ephesians 4:17 to 5:14. In Ephesians, there is such a section, starting from chapter 4, verse 17, to chapter 5, verse 14. And this section actually is a kind of a repetition of what is covered in these 2 chapters. Okay. In the New Testament, which charge the holy people of God to put off as regards the former manner of life, the old man, and to put on the new man, which according to God was created in righteousness and holiness of the truth, as mentioned in Ephesians 4:22 and 24. Living a life that is holy as God is holy. These 2 sections of the word, one in the Old Testament, here in Leviticus, chapters 18, 19, 20, and the other in Ephesians 4 and 5, you could put them together and they help each one. You see, they help each one. You read more of Ephesians, then you understand more of these 3 chapters. In the Old Testament term, do not live a life according to those people, Egyptians, among whom you lived. And do not live a life among the coming people with whom you will stay, the Canaanites. Then you have to live a new life. This means to put off the old man in the old manner of life, in the Egyptian manner, nor in the Canaanite manner, but in the manner of God's holy people, which is considered as the new man. To put out the living of the Egyptians and the Canaanites is to put out the old man. You see, to live a holy life according to God's holiness is to put on the new man. Being saved, the believers should not be conformed to the living and conduct of the worldly people. A holy life according to God's holiness equals to put on the new man. I know to you already, in chapter 16 for the propitiation, only 4 basic offerings of the 5 are needed. 1 was not needed, because this one is the result, the issue of those 4. And those 4 are the sin offering, trespass offering, right? Plus the burnt offering and the meal offering, right? These 4 offerings issue in one result. What result? To enjoy the peace with God and with God's people, one another. And this is the peace offering. Now, the 2 chapters are not talking anything related to propitiation, but related to the holy living of God's people. And in the holy living of God's holy people, one important thing is to have what? The fellowship, communion, mutual enjoyment in peace. That is fully signified in the peace offering. And we ought to know that the peace offering is just the Old Testament type of the Lord's table. Take up these, listen. offering sacrifice of peace offerings to Jehovah that may be accepted, signifying that the breaking of bread for the remembrance of the Lord should be done in a way that is acceptable to the Lord. If you read 1 Corinthians 11:17-21, that portion of the word charges us not to have the Lord's table enjoyed in a wrong way, in an abusing way. And we have to enjoy the Lord's table in a proper way. Don't have a still practice at the Lord's table. It must be new. It must be fresh. Signifying that the one who participates in the saints' stale fellowship is guilty of having despised the holy thing of God and will lose the fellowship among God's people. Living, especially living of God's holiness, nothing should be mixed. It has to be pure. It has to be pure. No mixture in our living. No mixture being allowed, signifying that God wants everything to be after its kind. In God's creation, according to Genesis 1, every plant is according to its kind. Every animal is according to its kind. Every beast is according to its kind. The mixture is condemned by God without any kind of mixture. Right. These ordinances and statutes also cover humanity. And in humanity, these ordinances and statutes charge us firstly to honor our parents, not to curse them, not to despise them. Especially today, in the modern age, young people do not respect, honor the parents as they should. Not only so, you have to also respect the age of the persons who are older than you. You have to respect. Right? Then, not only you have to love your neighbor, to love others, you have to love the sojourners in your country. Right? That means these 3 chapters spend quite long space to cover this one thing. In details. Right? Live such a high human life, and this high human life is according to God's image. To God's image. God is so holy. God is so righteous, and God is love, God is light. So we must live a life full of light. Read these 3 chapters. I'd like to encourage you to read. You could see all the items, item after item after item. It only shows the high standard of morality and ethics in our holy life for us to serve God. Even when we are serving God, yes, we must have a human life with all the humans around us. No need to say our blood relatives is humanity. This is our God's requirement because He's so right. He is so righteous, and He's so holy, and He's so loving, and He's full of light. Whatever He does it in light, not in darkness. Read my life study on Rook. Yeah, on Rook. Just in the first few messages on Rook, I put out a high standard of the Lord's humanity on this earth, which is the model, the pattern, which we should take and we should follow. The dear saints living a life to match our service of God must live such a high standard humanity, right? The high standard humanity.